at the beginning of last year. As the year kept going, I was like, I'm going to lose my mind.
We have people come to us. How did you do $1.5 million of premium last year? Well, here's what we did. Well, I don't want to do all that.
When I first started like trying to hire people and showing them like, hey, you can make a lot of money here, I wasn't buying them leads. It's almost like you're selling them a bill of lies.
I think you're missing a big part of that too. You gave them the why, right? I'm selling that vision and that why to my team so that they can do it. Because I love to sell.
My uncle told me when I first failed in 6 months, he said, it's not about failing. It's about what do you do after you fail.
What recommendation would you give to any young agent like yourself or old agent like Craig to make the biggest impact in their agency?
I was just going to tell you to retire, but no, I mean, I'm
trying.
Dive in. The wildest thing that's happened to me was I was working in the first office that I helped open for my father-in-law, and him and my now wife, they took a trip for a month to Malaysia and they were gone. And I was just the only person. And, you know, customer walks in, you know, this office, we had a nice bathroom, right? And in the actual office, you know, it was a small office, but we had our own private bathroom, which was great. Customer, you know, would always use it every single time, no issue. But of course, when he's gone, this customer decides to use the restroom. They're in there for a while, like I mean, like a very awkward long time. And you're just like, okay, you're sitting there. They come out. You don't think anything of it, right? They leave. They do, you know, pay their bill. They leave. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I have to go to the bathroom. I don't know if you've seen the movie Dumber and Dumber or like whatever.
Yes,
like,
Dumber,
one, right? Like, yeah. Well, the second one where, you know, he has the Hershey chocolate in his back pocket, melts. He wipes it everywhere. It looks like there's crap everywhere. Right. Well, that's what I walked into. I walk into there and it's on the wall. It's on the floor somehow. It's not around the sink though. I mean, so I'm not quite sure on that one, but yeah, that was an awesome thing. Also, we clean our own bathrooms, and I was the only employee, and they were gone. So yeah, that was a sobering experience. I never worked by myself again, and we had to have a talk actually with that customer and said no more. We wouldn't allow them to. So. That's the wildest thing that's happened to me out of my, I think about 12, 13 years with Allstate now. So, my name is Seth Smith, Sethe Smith Agency here out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I'm an insurance dude.
Boom! That is an amazing story. I love that we were talking prior to this and you're like, well, let me think of a story.
That's really crappy.
Or you had that one and you're like, I don't know if I want to say that one. Yeah, that's probably what it was.
That's the one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
It was a crappy story.
Yeah, very, very bad. It was a very
crappy
story. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand like how you miss. Like it's a pretty simple setup, right? Like the whole toilet thing.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. And I'm just my thing is though, like that besides the point, there was no mess around the sink. That's my most concerning part, right? Like,
right.
I mean, you know that happened, and then they came right out, right?
Oh,
so I'm like,
did he give you a big hug after he came out?
Oh no.
Did he shake anybody's hand?
Huh? No.
Oh, good.
Nope. I didn't hear the sink, so I was like, yeah, I'm not. This is not happening. No, like I usually do, but no, not this time.
Wow.
So this is gonna make you feel better. I worked as a busser at a bar. It was a big bar in Fullerton owned by the guys from Lit. So it was all like rock and roll paraphernalia. They'd get extremely busy. So one night on like a Friday night, it got crazy busy. The next thing you know, they're like, there's some lady in the photo booth that like won't come out and like, well, all this stuff and like, what's going on in there? And to make a long story short, we could kind of see the legs and like the underwear dropped and there's poop everywhere. And all of a sudden she ran out and ran down the street. I'm like, what just happened? Like what, like, and I'm a little still hazy on, I think I got brought into this like the very last second. So I don't know exactly what
we've all been there. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I mean, we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
In a photo booth, you got to go when you got to go.
100%. And so and I know that our bathrooms had a line. So like she just couldn't make it. So then we open the curtains. On the curtains, there's poop. There's poop everywhere, smeared all over the top, the bottom, everywhere. And it was like, well, you're the new guy. And so I had an entire crowd, like a Saturday, hundreds of people watching me clean every inch of the photo booth. And so that was like right when I started, and like everybody was like, dude, I got mad respect for you. I wouldn't do that. Like, so
like you just knew at that point it could never get worse, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like the job could not get worse at that point. So you stick it out, you know, it's just upwards from there.
Right.
Was this before or after kids?
Oh, before.
Oh yeah. So you were not prepared for anything like that. Like after kids, you're kind of desensitized to some of that.
Well, that's just a Friday night. Like that's a normal day.
That's what it is every day at your house.
I have 2 boys.
Yeah.
Boys and wiping themselves, issues.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Always.
Gross.
I wonder if there's anybody still listening.
I know. Okay, so let's dive in. Seth, so you've been a part of a family that it sounds like have worked for captives. Tell us the whole story. I want to get let's get into that.
Yeah. I mean, kind of funny story, but I mean, it's also kind of how I started dating my wife too. So Allstate led me to my wife, you know, got to give them respect for that. Right. But I was working at Staples. I was the tech nerd, whatever you want to call it, fixing computers. I sold my now father-in-law his computers, office chairs, desks, like everything for his office. And he just said he liked my personality and just how I was selling everything on, you know, upgrading him on everything. So he was like, hey, I need a salesperson. I'm starting a brand new agency. And, you know, there wasn't one in that town at the time, and it was in a rural area. So I said it was going to be a good opportunity, you know, and I'm making next to nothing anyways at Staples. So I was like, why not? But he almost didn't hire me because then his daughter wanted to date me. And so he didn't want that kind of like awkwardness, but he did decided to anyways. So we helped open that office, and then we got it over to, we were one of the top agencies at that time in the state, in Indiana. We wrote a bunch, we grew it in like 3 or 4 years, to 1.2, 3 years. And then, essentially Allstate offered him to open another one up in Fort Wayne. So we were like, okay, let's go ahead and do it. And so we opened this one here and as well, then we sold off the other one. Just having 2 locations was a little bit of a stretch for us. I mean, they were about an hour apart each way. And so it was better. And the agent who took over has been doing an amazing job with it. He worked for us at the time, and it just turned out to be an awesome situation. And then we opened this one scratch, and I think about 9 years later, he ended up selling it to me, and I took over. Now I haven't always been with Allstate, like, you know, I worked for him, and then, you know, you always see that there's greener on the other side, right? Like if you always want to try new things, you know, I was 21, 22 when I first started. So I tried all these other jobs. So yeah, we just essentially decided to, I tried all kinds of different things, selling in-store, 100% commissions, all that stuff. I even tried opening my own broker office as well. And it just didn't work out. So, but essentially when he was ready to, I mean, we had this game plan for me to take over. And then all of a sudden he was like, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and just do this. And, yeah. So,
when did that happen?
So early 2021, we were planning on like a 3-year plan. So, you know, in 3 years I was going to take over. And then a new comp structure, you know, came out, and it just like all these things started rolling and he's like, you know what, I'm at that age, just not ready to do it. So he's like, I'm not wanting to do this. I'm not wanting to go through change. So I was like, all right, more than happy to take over. I'll just somehow make this all happen in 6 months and we'll go from there.
Super cool. That is awesome. You know, there's not many agents that start working from an LSP standpoint, right? And like, I think that's so cool to have that experience before, because something about, you know, being in the trenches and then being at the helm and being able to empathize with what everybody's going through, right?
Yeah.
Super cool. So, how have things changed since you started? Like what was your approach? So what was your approach to sales with the first couple agencies, and then now what is your approach, and how's that changed?
We've always been about new business, right? I mean, obviously everyone wants new business. You always want to try to write as much as possible. The only thing is it was at a point easier to keep customers, and it was more cost effective at the time to keep customers. So when we first opened the first one into the second one, it just made more sense to focus on retaining, still writing new business, but try to retain as much as possible. And something that I've had to shift from, especially like taking over last year, we want to retain as much as possible, but there's a lot of things outside of our control right now. The only thing that I do have control over is how much I spend on marketing, bringing new customers in and doing our best, you know, with the sales staff training and getting the new business, because that's where the obvious focus is now, is get as much as possible, as fast as possible right now too. So that's where I've had to really kind of shift my mental, is like, yes, I want to retain as many customers as possible. I still want to go above and beyond for my customers, but at the end of the day, people are leaving for $1, $5, you know, a month, and your service isn't worth as much as what it used to be. The loyalty, you know, we can do everything we can to show why we're different, and we know why we're different. But at the end of the day, especially right now in this, where we're at as an, you know, economy and everything, it's all about the saving the penny, right? So that's what we have to focus on, is just bringing in the business.
Yeah, it's been my experience that that value proposition that makes us more valuable than the everybody else, right? Because we're already perceived as a commodity. So in this situation, you have these people that are willing to bounce for a nickel or a penny or whatever, right? Creating that value is so important, but not just like after acquiring them, but the whole journey, right? So if they come in as a lead, like, you know, obviously meeting them where they are with that lead to give them the fast, quick, easy, all that stuff. But then in that conversation, transforming it so that it becomes something of more value, right? We have to differentiate ourselves. Oh, yeah. What kind of things do you do up front to do that?
One is definitely is building the report, right? The more that we treat every call as transactional, that's how the customer will see us. And then also when it comes to renewals, it's transactional, right? There's no report, there's no substance. And without that substance, there is no differentiation between progress or, you know, any of those 1-800 teams, you know, or even brokers and stuff like that. There's just no difference between us and them. So we got to show them why we're different. And that's one thing we do, is we spend time on the phone. I don't care, you know, it's an extra 15, 20 minutes. That's what's going to set us apart, finding out about them. And then also during that time while you're finding out about them, just getting information like, you know, like about their family, that way, you know, leads to referrals, and also just letting them know like the agent value. So that's one thing that we definitely do here, is just stress on, like, if they call my office, I might not be available 24/7, but if they need something, they know I will call them. They can talk to their agent. They can. So that's something like that even my salespeople will, you know, go is like, hey, you're going to see his name on there, but if you need something, he's there. and he'll call, he'll talk. And I don't know, that I feel like that's what separated us. And just being genuine and upfront with the customer, even if they leave. I mean, we're still leaving on a good note. And I'd say at least 95% of the people that leave me tell me they don't want to leave. They said, I wish I could stay with you. I wish, but the difference between what's out of my control and what the other companies are offering, it's just out of our control. And this, like I said, in this time, it just, every penny counts. So, yeah,
I remember in one of our weekly calls that we do with our, like the members, is that, in those that instead of fighting to keep them, like, our natural gut reaction is to fight. We got to save it. Certainly we're going to make an effort to save it, but instead of, I guess for lack of a better term, like poisoning the well by being a little too clingy, right? Nobody wants somebody that's clingy and, please don't go, right? We're not going to beg for it. But at that point, and this is what came out of this discussion and why it sticks out, is they said, look, I totally get it. You got half off. They're losing money to acquire you in this instance, and that's okay. You're going to save $500. That's great. So this is what we're going to do. I'll circle back in 6 months. I'm going to put it on my calendar. I'll call you myself, or Larry will call you, and then we'll get you requoted. And likely they're going to be going up so that they can actually be profitable, and we'll probably have either a sweetheart rate or we'll be able to be right in the wheelhouse. Because at the end of the day, our costs are pretty similar. And you get that, right, Mr. Blah, blah, blah. And then they're going to say yes, and there you go. Now you've pre-framed it, right?
Yep. Always getting the permission for win-backs is one of the key things. When they leave, we get the permission right then on the phone. So then that way we do have, no matter what, the ability to call them back. And we never hear, like, maybe one out of the blue will be like, no, I don't want you to call me back.
Right.
Okay. That's your prerogative, but 90% of the time, or 95%, it's going to be, yeah, please call me back. I have no problem with it. And they would love to come back. So
this is the instance of asking for permission is a good thing. Whereas normally we just ask for forgiveness, right?
Yeah, exactly.
At least with our wives.
Yep, exactly.
So describe your team and their roles.
So we're including me, a 3-person office here. I have one person who is just 100% dedicated sales. They don't do customer service. They don't do any of the follow-up stuff like that. I have an office manager who will do that, the notes of cancellations, all that stuff. And then we'll kind of split the reviews. And I still sell because that's honestly one of my favorite things to do. I've always been with my father-in-law, but I've just always been the sales manager, salesperson. And that's one of my favorite things to do. So I don't want to, just because I'm the agent, to lose out. And that's one of my favorite things to do. So that's essentially what we do. Is I kind of tend to do every of the areas, but I do have a dedicated salesperson, because I feel like right now that's one of the most important things is not having them split, is just at least having that one person or multiple people, if you can do it, and just have them 100% dedicated to sales, so that they're not getting burnout with those, customer service calls or issues. And, I'm used to dealing with them. Salespeople that's not their forte, right?
Love that. It's a different breed, right? Like a salesperson is a different breed than a service person.
You don't put a baseball pitcher as the kicker for the football team. That'd be crazy. But that's what we try to do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So true. Yeah, it's crazy. It's funny too, because you take somebody that's on service and you tell them to sell, and they clamp up. Like it's like, like they don't. It makes them feel horrible, right? It makes them just hate their job. And then with the salesperson, it's the same thing. Like they love to hunt. They love to go out there. They're not afraid of rejection, but they're usually not as detail oriented, not as like follow up oriented. Like they just love to talk to people and not as organized, right? Yeah. So it's like you try to throw You try to throw a salesperson into a service and salesperson, it's wacky, you know?
Oh, yeah. And that's something I've had to teach myself, is to become all the roles, right? Because I was a salesperson, and that's exactly, I love to hunt, love to challenge, taking notes, doing all the, the follow-ups, getting the paperwork, like if I could hit, like we didn't have that kind of organization when I was in the sales position. So it did burn me out when I had to take in all the customer service calls and then still sell.
Yeah.
That's tough.
It didn't work.
It's like having to change how you think too, right? It's different ways of thinking.
How do you juggle wearing all those hats?
Sometimes I feel like I don't. I don't know. It's just one of the things, like, I don't have a choice. This is, to me, it's my, family's livelihood, and I've got to make it happen. I've got to make sure that I have everything in place that I need to, compliance wise, to help protect us, and just the things in place that helps make us successful as for sales, but then also compliant when if something does come up, like with claims and whatnot. So it's just something that when you're in that position, you're either going to adapt or fall apart. And to me, I don't have the choice of the second part, like this, we're a single family income, like it's from me. So I got to make it happen. So that's kind of how I have to.
Yeah. I think the pressure is so good in creating energy and movement, right? Like you can't sit idle, because if things fall apart, it's all on you. And then she's going to be, it's not good. Right. So we got to make sure that you provide and you get it done. The other, I think, important part that this probably will resonate, like your message will resonate with a lot of people, because I think there's a lot of agents that are at this stage of their agency. But I think is important also to acknowledge that it probably it's not sustainable to be the jack of many trades forever. Right. Like, but knowing, okay, this is I'm going to do this for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is. And then I'm going to pull myself back. I'm going to have somebody that replaces me that oversees this stuff. Then I can focus on higher level act. And knowing that is an important thing. I think young in my career, I didn't have an understanding of that. It sort of felt like, and feel back to feelings, right? Like what you feel is what you perceive to be true. And so, it felt like there was no light at the end of the tunnel for a very long time. So anybody that's in this spot where you're doing this is normal, right? It's normal for it to be insanity right now.
Oh yeah.
Right. At the front end. But you push through this, and hopefully there is, somebody at home and a family that depends on you, because I think that really fuels it. But to push through this part, knowing that there is a plan here, or you should have a plan to get to where then you can scale.
Exactly. And that's essentially, like, I'll be honest, I was cocky going into this at the beginning of last year. Not going to lie. I was like, you know what? I did everything, before. I can just do it myself. I'll be able to handle all of it. We'll still grow. But then as the year kept going, I was like, I'm going to lose my mind. So I was like, I'm just, it's going to be one of these days. It's going to be it. Just gone. So I was like, you know what? Did I have exactly the funds to bring on a salesperson? No, I didn't at the moment. I have a loan for the office. I have all these other bills, and then I have to increase marketing. And it's like, but at the end of the day, I had to look at it as like, can I sustain, say, for the next 6 months, paying this person, training them, and then getting something in place to where in 6 months, we'll start seeing the returns, right? Like we'll start seeing, like, usually I say 2 to 3 months, you're eating it, right? You're just going to have to eat it. You're training, you're making them learn, you're helping them learn, you're going to make some bad decisions along the way and good decisions, right? So you just have to eat those first 2 months, but it's one of the best things that I did, because they're helping, bring in majority of the sales, and I can just supplement with some of the others for right now. And like you said, having a plan is the big thing. Is I do want to step back from, as much as I love sales, I want to have another salesperson, which I will be bringing on this year. And it's just one of the things that it's a necessity. You do have to sometimes just, one of my friends there, Magano, he essentially told me too, he's like, don't be worried about like having to spend that money. You'll make it back in the future, right? Like you just have to look at the future and be like, I spend it now, I eat it now, but then what's this going to look like for, by this time next year? And I mean, we're, I'll say like we increased about 20% from when I took over in premium. And I mean, we are growing, we're expanding, it's starting to pay itself off. I mean, we had one of our best months last month. I mean, just so much going on that it was hard to even keep control of, which was a great thing. I mean, but highest premium, highest items that we've had since I took over. And I mean, with the salesperson, that's the only way I was able to do it.
Yeah. It drives me crazy. You have like a lot of people out there, a lot of talking heads, so much information talking about, oh, you can crush it at your agency by selling, and it's all focused on the selling and none of it on the math. Right. And I think that if we can, I think you now have an understanding of the math, when we know the math, like you can remove the emotion, right? Like if we know the data, like this is the equation, this is the math. Okay. I'm not getting my return right now, but I know the math. So I know that in 6 months, it actually does play out. And then in 12 months, it's like stack, 18 months, stack. 24 months stack, right? And then it starts then it's okay. Now I'm bringing in another salesperson. Boom, boom, boom.
Yep. But it's taking that, like, it's the fear that holds us back, right? Like, and not thinking of like what you were talking about, the compounding effect that it has month after month after month, 6 months, year, 18 months, those renewals just keep adding up. And it's just the fear, getting over that initial fear of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be out this money for 3 to 6 months. What do I do? It's not worth the risk, but at the end of the day, if you keep thinking that every single month, then we would be behind. We might not be able to hit our goals, which we would be even farther behind. So it's like, in the end, you have to just kind of just take that leap. And like you said, do the math and see what it looks like 6, 12, 18 months out.
I love that. One of the things with business owners, especially that I didn't know prior to being a business owner is, when I was an employee, I just thought, week to week or, paycheck to paycheck. And I didn't really understand the investment that it takes to grow. And it is very relatable to what we've been told, growing up, where it's like you invest in, going to college. And then once you do that, you can get a better job. Right. That crazy myth. But
spend $500,000 and you'll get a really good job that you'll never make up.
Yeah. 100%. But same principle applies though. And the principle is correct, where you do have to invest. You have to invest in yourself. First, your skills in some sort of capacity. And then if you own a business, the best business owners invest in their business and they get really good at delayed gratification. We don't see, no one tells us that prior to being a business owner, or maybe some people if you spend enough getting the right education, but you have to invest in yourself. And the business owners that can think the furthest out are the ones that have the most success. How long can you delay that gratification? 6 months, a year, 2 years, like, you know what I mean? How different do you operate when you think that way? And to be able to, like, for you, it's incredible that early on in business ownership that you've understood that, hey, I have to delay that gratification if I really truly want to step up. Like if I want to make an impact, if I want to be able to grow outside of just me making calls. I know that was my biggest pain, was that first year I tried to do it all myself. And I realized like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. Like, even if I was the best salesperson on the planet, I wouldn't be able to do this. So the best use of my time is getting somebody else to do it, or at least proving it with someone else so I can do it with them. And then I have a model in which to scale. but all that stuff costs money. And it comes back to fear versus faith. Either you're going to have faith and make that step and those moves in the right direction, and not let the fear take over, because fear is always going to tell you to not do that, right? And when we operate in fear, and I think it's hard not to, being an agency owner, especially with the change of environments, is like, if you're making decisions based on fear, you're not making true leader decisions. But if you're moving in faith, then it's like the great sign of a leader. And it's awesome that you've learned that early on and have been able to take the plunge and see success now. At least, like, you're having the best, did you say the best month ever, right?
Yeah, it's our best month to date, and it's
super cool.
It was awesome. I mean, it was a good feeling to be able to have that, because I hit over a goal that I established with one of my leaders as far as what I wanted to do in a month, and premium wise and item wise, and we were actually able to do it. And that's like hitting those goal marks, right? Like, I set it well above what we did in any month last year. And I was like, you know what, like, this is my goal I want to get to. And it happened, and I was like, okay, it was a good day yesterday. I got my Series 6, so that was awesome.
Congratulations.
All right.
But then I got out of the office the test there, and I had text messages, one call closed, and like by end of the day it was like $8,000 in premium. I was like, okay,
there you go.
This is a really good day.
So you ended the month not even being in the office, doing your own thing, but you also had a day like that.
Yep. It was a really good day.
That's phenomenal, dude. I remember when I got my Series 6 and 6.3, and it was very stressful, and there were no sales.
Yeah.
To be able to do both is how empowering. That's
yeah. I got, like, side story. I have a Series 7, and I got that at Merrill Lynch, which I was their financial advisor. I was a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch prior to getting the agency. And
Craig just had to one-up us, by the way, Seth.
No, yeah. Well, number one, yes.
You have 6.
Yes. Number one, 7. I can sell options, which you cannot. And number two, when you went in, if you didn't get the 70, if you didn't pass, you're fired. So you go in, it's a 4-hour test, because it's like double. It was insane. Like, you can't even think by the end of it. Your brain is melted, and you hit the button. Do you want to see your results? And then it asks, are you sure you want to see your results? And then I'm like, wait a minute. Does it just ask you that if you failed? And I'm like shaking. I was shaking, and I had sweat dripping down my face, and I'm in this room going, if I failed, I'm screwed. Screwed. My wife just had Kenzo, so our second child just was born. I'd have to come home and say, oh, well, I'm fired because I failed. And I clicked it, and I got a 73, baby.
Yeah.
And they all said I 73% too much.
That is crazy.
It was nuts. And yes, it is better than the 6.
Yeah, just one up. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, no, I don't ever want to take that again.
No.
So, what about plans for recruiting? Do you still recruit on a day-to-day, on a daily basis, or on a weekly basis? What do you do with that?
So, I do my recruiting a little bit different, I guess, than what you hear all the time. Is always be recruiting, always be hiring, and mine is, I tend to like to try to get referrals in that first before I go outside, they tend to be better candidates. And it's also one of the least expensive ways to do so. But as far as for me, last year when I was planning to hiring, started about a month and a half in advance, knowing that I'm going to have to comb through all these resumes. I'm going to have to weed out the bad ones and people not showing up and people that sound good but then end up not being good, that type of thing. So, but honestly, myself, he had no experience in the sales industry. He worked in the restaurant industry for 9 years, which having a job for 9 years was huge, right? Continuously with the same company. And then, but being in the restaurant, customer service is already there, dealing with unpleasant people sometimes was already there. So, and I was just hungry. And I was like, you know what, gonna take a chance. And one of the best choices I made.
Love it. What did you do when you brought him on? How did you inspire him to be up to the level of your expectation?
High commission. Like I'm a firm believer in the lower base, higher commission. And sometimes can we lose out in the long run or upfront, right? Like we could potentially be paying out more, but it's based on the renewals rate that we get to pay it out there. But I want to incentivize by not only paying very well on commission, but also throwing bonuses. We hit our goals. There's a bonus every month. And depending on how much you contributed to it, depends on how much you get of it. And you hit it 6 months in a row, get another bonus. So it's one of the things that I do feel like rewarding them is huge. But also it needs to align with us, right? If we're hitting our goals 6 months in a row, that's huge. So we, throwing a bonus out there is just makes sense. Incentivizes them to just write the business there. And, I do more of a hands-on approach with the teaching too. Like I do like to show them, I do like to, like I said, I'm still in sales. So I they can listen to my calls. They can watch me do it, whatever the case may be there. I just feel like that does help out quite a bit to just show them this is what I've done. This is how much I've done while not being able to 100% focus on sales. So this is what, imagine what you can do. This is all you're going to do. You don't have to worry about any of that other stuff. You just sell and this is how much you can make. And it's all based off of you. If it works for you, great. And I laid that out in front before offering. And, I do like to do a two approach. I'll present them two commission structures, right? One with higher base, low commission or lower commission, and one with lower base, higher commission. And they'll make much more on the higher commission. And it's which one would you pick if I offered you a job? So,
ooh, love that.
That is really a really good idea.
I love
that's a great quality because if they go for the high base, I just wonder.
Not for me.
Yeah. So,
what do you do then? Take it away.
Yeah. What do you do?
No, I just like I said, I don't. This is part of the last interview phase, right? You're in front of them. You're like, hey, if this is a good fit for both of us, these are the type of structures that I have laid out for my salespeople. Which one would you pick?
And I let if he says, I want the 500,000 a year with no commission,
I'm just like, okay, perfect. We'll be in touch. And then I just leave it like that. And then
never talk again.
No, I'll call back and say, we decided to move in another direction, but that just lets me know that the hunger's not there, and I need hunger.
Yeah,
people.
I love I've used that in verbal form. I've never thought about actually writing out two commission structures in which the base is incredibly low, but incredibly high upside, and then show them the difference and then have them decide. That's such a good qualifier right there.
Yeah. And I think, we explain it to them and when we know it backwards and forwards, because we talk about it all the time, but for them, they probably okay. They don't understand, right? They're not following. And then, but they don't want to look bad. So they just agree. And then here we are overpaying them for the base, because at the end of the day, everybody's gonna, if they're presented in their mind with two different things, one's 1,500 and one's 3,000, they're going for 3,000, right? Why wouldn't you? Because what if it doesn't work? What if, I guess that's where the support that you're going to give once they're on is a really important component of it too. What kind of support do you give? Do you get them leads? How's your new guy writing business?
So obviously we do TeleDudes. So we have that. So we buy quite a bit of internet leads. We don't do the live transfers. It's just honestly too expensive if you buy them from these companies. One, half the time they're just going to tell them whatever they can to get them to actually just send them over, right? Get their $65, $100, $120 per call. And unless your company or have companies are, closing 25 to 40% of business, it just doesn't make sense on how many you have to get to close, right? So what I do is it's a two-part system. I use TeleDudes, our telemarketer, as a person to have leads coming in, right? Or calls coming in to them. But that's not the only thing. I do expect still dials. I do expect follow-ups. We do not just sit, twiddling our thumbs and just say, man, I really hope I get a call and they just want to close. And it's like, we can't do that, especially today. So it's a two-part system, but I do spend more than I ever have in marketing. But I have to look at, once again, like these past 2 months, especially, I'm writing more than I ever have. So it kind of you just have to spend that. You have to support them. I mean, if you're going to tell them, hey, you can make X amount with me, you better have a plan in store for them if they're taking a chance on you, right? You need to make
100%.
sure that you have something in place for them, a system that is going to help aid them. Now, I can't, guarantee anything that's dependent on them, how hard they want to work, how hard they want to follow up, what they want to do. But at the same time, you still have to supply a quality flow for them. Like you should be able to make that commitment to them. Like, hey, you can make this much with me. And they're believing in you, right? To be able to help get them there. So you need to believe in them by supporting in them. Whether it's, marketing, I don't do much with mailers, to be honest with you. I don't see much success unless you're going to spend an astronomically high amount. And you're okay with waiting 3 months to 2 years for them to call you, which I'm not. So I do try to sprinkle them, but I decided not to with going forward this year. I'm just going to invest more into real-time internet leads and just my telemarketer, and just spend more there on also referral programs, networking programs, that type of thing, to build better relationships, creating those, center of influences this year is when it's going to be one of my goals to help support them as well.
It's funny. You reminded me of what it was like when I first started. When I first started, I remember trying to hire people and showing them hey, you can make a lot of money here. And then they would come in and I'd show them a commission and I said, you should be here. You should be here. Look at all, these other people in groups and agencies are, they're other agencies can do it. If they can do it, you can do it. And I wasn't buying them leads. I took no responsibility for giving them business, because I also heard in those groups, bring me, 100 deck pages and all this stuff. Right.
Yeah.
And I remember hiring people thinking oh my gosh, you'd hire them. They would come in all excited. Within a couple months, it was the balloon was deflated. They're I'm never going to make money. And then they would leave. And I remember hiring 2 or 3 people that way and feeling when I was trying to hire them, feeling oh, this person's not going to last. They're it's almost like you're selling them a bill of lies. Right.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to actually spending money on marketing. It was dude, we're in this together. I'm buying you tons of leads. It's became more of a joint relationship, and it became something where you could believe in it, and they actually had a chance. All they had to do was actually follow the steps that you lay out.
I think you're missing a big part of that too. You gave them the why, right? What we were talking about today earlier. In the first example, it's the what. It was all what, right? Hey, you're going to make money, you're going to make the money. If you do this, you make a bunch of money. But you pivoted when that second set and you went through it. Hey, we can make an impact on the people that we insure because we're going to give them better coverage. You give them that why, that where we literally, I know for certain that there's tons of people that have the wrong coverage out there and nobody does a damn thing about it. Right. They go over to the other place. The other place says, okay, I'm going to match you apples to apples. Okay, great. And they do that. Right. But where did the apple come from? They started when they were 16 and they've had the same coverage since they were 16. So having I mean, even my kids were in a head-on. I've talked about it a million times. My kids were in a head-on. It was the freaking scariest day of my life. Thankfully, they didn't get hurt. They're fine. But in that head-on, like we learned, the other driver who was at fault had 100, 300. That's nice. 15 for property damage. 15, 100, 315 with a gecko, right? And and it's like, what a gross oversight, right? Like, imagine if she didn't hit my kids in an old Avalon, but instead hit me in the Model X, right? Now there's a problem, right?
Yep.
And it's such a tiny detail that could have a huge impact, because if they hit that car, oh shit, I'm going after them, right? Like, I don't care. I'm taking your house to pay for my car because it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so it's like we literally impact their lives and protect them from something that could be detrimental. And it's difficult to move them from that, but that's part of our responsibility as in what we do. And I think that then also, like you talked about how you're selling, like I haven't logged in and sold a policy forever, right? But I still sell in that I'm selling that vision and that why to my team so that they can do it. Because I love to sell, but I do nobody any good by me, making $15 for the year on a renter's policy. Like that doesn't move the needle.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And that just comes to, the whole thing that separates us, right? If we're going to be, if you're going to treat them like, just like we said, transactional, expect every interaction to be transactional. Yeah. And expect bigger issues down the road too. Because you didn't take that time to, when you brought them over, to say, hey, for literally 5 cents, 10 cents more a month, I can take you from that 15 and I say 25 in property damage to 100,000, 500,000, whatever you want to do. You're still talking about cents a month. And people, like, when you connect it, like you said, I go, hey, you go hit out that Tesla, you total it. What do you think that's going to cost you? 25? No, you're going to be paying that person 70 to whatever model they got plus 1,000. Where do you think that money's coming from? Not us. I mean, like, if you're only going to pay for 25, that's what we're paying. Then we're going to pay. But where do you think the other money comes from? And once they actually connect that, like, hey, like, they can come after my actual money, and it's not just a thought. It's an actual, like, you can tangibly feel it and talk about, like, it, like you said, is going to be the difference, and a huge difference.
Yeah. And depending on the state, like, it comes straight from, it could be garnished, like child support or whatever, you know? So it's crazy. Like we have a responsibility to be honorable and have integrity and get them the right coverage, even though they don't want to, right? Kicking and screaming. In the same way, we have people come to us, hey, how are you writing? How did you do $1.5 million of premium last year? Well, here's what we did. And then, I don't want to do all that, right? It's like, well, that's how you do it. Yep. Okay? This is what you need to do. And it's shifting. It's taking somebody and shifting how they look at something so that they understand it, right? It's just, at the end of the day, they just don't understand, because quite frankly, insurance sucks and it's boring and nobody likes it, right? Like, that's just the fact, right? Nobody likes it.
I tell them that when they talk about it. When I'm selling someone, I'll be like, hey, I know this is one of the worst things to talk about, and it's like nails on the chalkboard. I was like, at the end of the day, I was like, my end goal for you is to take care of you and your family. And I don't want you calling me saying, hey, I have this claim, I don't have enough coverage. I don't want that. Never. And,
right. You know, and that's why, like, here, like, and I know that you follow some of the sales stuff where we're telling stories, we're doing these things, like, which is a little different, but it's a framework so that, because if we don't like the head-on story, right? Like, that's a real story. That's something that happened. And I used to say it on every single call when I was doing sales after it happened, because it's powerful and it conveys the message and the importance. And then it shows that I'm passionate about it, right? Whereas if I just said, okay, I got you at 15, 30, 15. Do you understand what those mean? Of course, they're going to say, yeah, because they don't want you to explain it. And then you move on, right? Like, who cares? Why? I don't care. That's what the Geico guy said. That's what I don't care. Yeah. right? But hey, this is look at what happens if this is done wrong, and right now it isn't done correctly. But this is let me give you a scenario, and then boom, right? Like, oh, okay, that makes
and
them
then at that point, you're still gonna have those people who are like, nope, still don't want to do it, and you're like, okay, like we just have to do our part to offer the right coverage, and every situation is different, right? You're gonna have some people who are high earners, you're gonna have some people who are low earners, so not all coverages make sense. But to me, like I still want to give higher coverages than lower, but you're still gonna have those customers though that are just gonna tell you, nope, I don't care, what they can try going after me, but they can't get anything from me. It's like, you say that, but you'd be surprised. And that's essentially like, we got to do our part, and we got to help educate, whether they, feel like they want to be educated at that moment.
Right.
100%. So Seth, what recommendation would you give to any young agent like yourself or old agent like Craig to make the biggest impact in their agency?
And you can't say run the other direction. We're assuming that they have to become an agent.
I was just going to tell you to retire, but no, I mean,
I'm trying.
No, I mean, dive in. I mean, that's the thing. Like, unless I'm fully invested in this, I'm putting everything I can back into the business. I'm trying to, pay myself as little as possible so I can put it more into the business, because to me, you just look at the end goal. What's your end goal? I want to sell this for a lot more than what I bought it for, right? I want to create a retirement for me that's not based off of hoping that I'm going to get it from the government, right? I want to create it for myself, and I have the power to do so. And I think for younger agents, it's just think about your end goal and just focus on that, on like what steps you need to make to get it, and just dive in. Take those fears out of the way. You're going to make mistakes. My uncle told me when I first failed in my broker office, failed in 6 months. I didn't manage it right. Thought I could do everything myself. He said, it's not about failing. It's about what do you do after you fail? Are you just going to go, just look down and just not take a chance again in your life? No, you're going to fail many times, but it's just moving past the times that you fail and just realizing what did you do that caused you to fail that time. And now you know what not to do. And just being able to just accept that you will fail, you'll make some bad decisions, but at the end of the day, it's how you react to those that will help
love it,
get you to your end goal.
I mean, the same thing. Jason and I failed with leads more times than most people even buy leads, right? In order to figure out the art and science behind it. And I think a lot of people would give up. I mean, it's discouraging. It sucks losing, but then you go, oh, okay, that didn't work. Now it's clues.
Yep.
It's clues.
You might lose $1,000, $2,000 with a lead company, and you're just gonna have to be like, okay, I know not to use them again. Let's move on to a different one. It's like, you're just gonna have to eat it and just be like, I made a mistake, or like I should have done more research, or whatever the case may be, and just move on and just find someone else.
That $2,000 class is a lot less than going to Harvard.
Yeah.
You can't even use that.
100%.
So, and I love the fear, like you said, or have faith in the government to have the money. I think in this case, we want to have fear about that and faith in our agency, right?
Yeah. Things that we can control.
Yeah.
100%. Seth, thank you for going the distance. This has been awesome. Really appreciate it. Yeah, love it.
Awesome. Thank you. Cool, and we'll see you on the next lead call.
All right. Sounds good, guys.
See you, buddy.
All right. See you.
Have a great one.
You too.